leveraging those machine learning models that are part of document understanding. And so for today, our my friend here, Lahiru, will be walking, deep diving on the these new features of document understanding, and also for the benefit of those who aren't able to attend yesterday, maybe just a quick refresher or quick overview again of DU. So we're all on the same page. And after that, then that's the time we can deep dive on the cool new features that Lahiru will go through in detail. So that's essentially what we'll be having for today. And yeah, so feel free to interact with us in case you have any burning questions. So feel free to raise your hand or post on the chat, and I'll be very happy to answer questions. Lahiru, it's
Okay.
your show.
Yeah. Okay. So before getting into the features, I will just give a brief introduction about document understanding and why it is important and why we are talking about it these days quite a lot. So, uh, in any company that we work for or any institution, we all work with documents quite a lot. And these documents are from, it has a different structure, it is addressing different things. So if you look at these kind of documents, sometimes we see handwritten data and sometimes we see computer generated information, or sometimes you see like paragraphs of data that is not fitting into a specific structure. So the thing is, still irrespective of how these documents look like, we still need to process them and to extract the data out of that and perform different activities. Like, for example, when it comes to finance, invoice processing, purchase order processing, these things are coming as different layouts. So if you actually look at an invoice, one invoice can be totally different from another in terms of the layout and in terms of what the data looks like, everything. So that's how dynamic these documents can be. Just to make it a little bit complex. So you see handwritten data and you see computer generated data. And on top of that, if we scan these documents, or we can actually take a photo of these documents using our mobile phone. And in these cases, the quality of these documents can also vary, because sometimes if you look at scanned documents, it is not having the greatest quality. And it's the same with photos as well. So that is why processing these documents are quite complex. And UiPath document understanding here is playing a really good role, trying to understand what's there in these documents and to help us identify what type of a document this is, and to also to extract the data. So that's the beauty of the UiPath document understanding solution. So to actually do that, we have a framework called document understanding framework, which has a couple of layers or sections. So let me quickly show my screen. Um, Give me a second. Yeah. So if we look at the um, framework, these are the sections we have: load taxonomy, digitize, classify, extract, validate, and export. So on the first one, what's happening here in load taxonomy is we basically need to identify. So for example, if we are working with an invoice, we need to tell this framework that these are the fields that we need to extract, and these are these data types. So creating that is what we call load taxonomy here. And then once you do that, then you get into digitizing. Basically, in whatever the format these documents are received, it could be a PDF file, it could be an image, it could be something else. So irrespective of this format, we apply a digitization component here to extract the text in these documents. So that is what helps us to actually identify what type of document this is and what are the data we need to extract. So sometimes when it comes to digitizing the native PDF files, in other words, the PDF files that are created in a digitized platform like a computer. So you see all these digital PDF files, right? These things can be directly transformed into text because it is already generated through a computer. But on the other side, whatever the documents you receive as scanned or images, these things you need to apply OCR, optical character recognition engine, to convert it to a digital format. And once you do that, then comes the classification. See, what you mean by classification is you basically identify what type of a document this is. So in the taxonomy, we are specifying that these are the type of documents and these are the fields we need to extract from this. So once you feed the documents, the model can identify what type of this document is, like whether it's an invoice or whether it's a purchase order, whether it's account creation form, for example, anything like that. So we use different techniques, like different classifiers to do this. And once you identify that, we are going into the next level where we extract the data using, again, different techniques like machine learning models, or you have regex that we can use, or we can create templates if the document has a fixed structure that applies to all the kind of documents we get. And once you extract the data, the next thing is you basically need to, yeah. So this is digitizing. Sorry for showing this now. Um, and yes, so when it comes to extraction, you see there are rule-based extraction methods, the things I told you about, and then comes the machine learning models, or we can use combination of all these things. And in validation, what we are doing is we are going to say that we are going to basically verify whether the model was able to identify the type of the document properly, and also whether it was able to identify extract the data properly. So those are the two things. So this is about data. And the good thing is, based on this validation, we can retrain these models if you are using machine learning, for instance. And finally, the last part is where you extract this data into Excel sheet so that you can now use that data to update in your other systems. Basically, if you want to send out an email to someone saying this is your invoice and these are the data, or else if you want to update your internal systems based on the data we extracted, you can do that. So you see a complete cycle of how we can extract the data and update the downstream applications. So this also supported by some new features in the recent version. So as you see here, there are a lot of features coming in, and yesterday Russell also presented some of the new features. So today I'll be not going through all the features, but I'll be showing some of them because we have quite a lot of new features here. So yeah, so when it comes to classification, as I said earlier, there are different techniques. We can use 3 different techniques. using the keyword-based classifier, which we need to specify the keywords in the document. So I'll be showing that. Um, Basically, those keywords will be used to identify the document. For example, if we are working on invoices, the word invoice can help to figure out that this is an invoice that we are looking at. And when it comes to purchase order, the two words purchase order can help us. So along with that, we also have another activity called intelligent keyword classifier. This has the capability to train by itself and to identify much more keywords that we can manually specify by itself. So also sometimes, so this is the difference between the keyword classifier and the intelligent keyword classifier. In the intelligent keyword classifier, the good thing about it is sometimes you receive documents that has multiple pages and each page has a different type of a document. Let's say, for example, you are receiving a PDF file with 10 pages, and on the first page, you're having an invoice, and in the second page, you're having a purchase order, and in the third page, again, an invoice, something like that. So, the use of intelligent keyword classifier can help you to really specify that, okay, so in the first page, you see an invoice. In the second page, this is a purchase order. It has that capability to go into page level and identify what type of document it is. And in the keyword classifier, it does not have that feature. On the other side, one of the newcomers is the machine learning classifier. So we have the AI center, which we can create machine learning models to extract data and to perform different other things. So along with that, we also have the machine learning document classifier, which we can use to identify documents that can vary, like no fixed structure, it has a lot of data. So when it comes to more and more complicated things, we can use the machine learning classifier to identify this kind of documents. So I'll be showcasing how to do that today. And along with that, for extraction, also we have different new features like in the form extractor, now we can include anchors. So probably if you have done user interface automation through UiPath, you must have heard about anchor base, specifying anchors for different UI elements. It's the same concept. So we'll have a look at that as well. Yeah, so there are a couple of new things that we can have a look. So now let's get to the actual demo. So before we go there, do you have any questions as of now? No questions?
Yeah, there's no, at least on the chat, there's no question yet. So yeah, we can move on for now. And yeah, everyone, again, a reminder, if in case you have any questions, feel free to interrupt. So this is interactive, so we can cater your questions as we move on. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a workflow that I created earlier so that I can show some additional features as well. So this for the newcomers, if you are using document understanding, these are the dependencies that we need to use for this. Intelligent OCR activities. And if you are using Omnipage, you can use this Omnipage activities one. And along with that, document understanding ML activities. So this will give you all the activities you need to perform a successful document understanding solution. Okay, so first I'm going to show you about the machine learning classifier and how to use it. The first thing is, so now remember the order. first we are going to specify the taxonomy. So when it comes to taxonomy, I'm going to say that I have two different types of documents that I need to extract. So basically, you can create this through the taxonomy manager, which comes up in the top ribbon here. So once it will not be here by default, once you install these activities that I showed you, it will show up. So all you need to do is go to taxonomy manager, create a group and a category for that, and specify the document type, and it will show up here. And for each document type, you can create the number of fields you need to extract. So in my case, I have specified for invoice, I need an invoice number of text type. So there are different types that we can select. And just like that, I have invoice date, billing address, and when it comes to that table in the invoice where you have the line items, you can specify those as well, just like the rest of the things. So similarly, I did the same thing for purchase order, saying these are the pages that I need. Yeah, so that's the taxonomy. And once you do that, you can use the load taxonomy activity, which you can find over here just by typing this activity. And then I'm going to loop through a set of files, which is available in this folder. In my case, it's here in the input files folder. So I have a couple of invoices and purchase orders to perform this action. So I'm pointing into that folder and looping through that. So the next step is digitizing, as I mentioned in the framework. So for each document, I'll be digitizing this using OmniPages here. And then here we are using the classification. So we are talking about how to do this machine learning classifier thing. So before training the machine learning model, we first need to identify, or we first need to use this same model to specify that this document belongs to this category. Like for example, if I say, if I'm processing this invoice, I should say this invoice, this document is an invoice, so that I need to train the model so that it can do it by itself next time. So like that. To do that, what I'm doing is, for now, I'm using the classified document scope, and I'm using intelligent keyword classifier for now. So this is pointing to a JSON file, which is empty at the moment. So it is here. So if I'm to show you, this is empty. So basically, I'll be manually specifying the document type for now. And it is configured to process both, as you see. And then comes the interesting part. Here we see the classification station, which we can specify the classification manually. And then the next thing is, here we are using a train classifier scope. So this is the interesting part. Before using this activity, we need to do something in the AI Center. So AI Center is the cloud platform. You can access that through the cloud platform over here. So basically, once you log in, you'll be seeing a screen similar to this. So let me load this. Yeah, give me a second. So once you sign in, yeah. So this is the screen that you will see. You can go to AI Center. And in here, you can create a new project. So as of now, I have one created for our session today. So I'll be going inside that. And the first thing to do is we first need to create a data set. So get to data sets and click on create new and just specify the name and click on create. So right now I have one created for us, this document classification. This is more like a folder. So I have no data in this at the moment. And then we are going to ML packages and go to out of the box packages. In UiPath document understanding, you will see the document classifier. So this is the model that we are going to use. And this is given to us by UiPath. So all you need to do is click on it and choose the version that we are going to use and click on submit. And then you will have to just provide a name for this. Make sure you don't provide any spaces and provide the name. Don't configure any of this and click on submit again. So this will create you a package under the name that you created. So in my case, I have done that and this is my package. And for you, it will show up here with the status undeployed. And once you do that, then comes the interesting part. Go here into our workflow, and then we can use the train classifier scope. So we are specifying the document path, which we are getting from the for each loop, and then the document text, object model, and human validated data. So we need to make sure we are training this on accurate data. So that's why we are using human validated data, which we get from the present classification station. And then we'll be using another activity called machine learning classifier trainer. So once you put this here, you are going to specify the project name. So these things will be automatically picked once your studio is connected to the environment. And from the data sets, I'm going to select the folder I created because this is where all the training data is going to be stored by this workflow. So earlier you saw that folder is empty. And I'm going to say for these two types, for invoices, put everything related to invoice in a folder called invoices in that classification folder. Similarly, for purchase order, I'm going to say put everything inside purchase order folder. So basically it will, while this thing runs, it will create two folders for us. So let me run this now. So once it executes, it will show me the classification station for each document. So as I said earlier, right now this workflow doesn't know what kind of a document this is. So I need to specify that manually. So this is an invoice. So from the drop down, I will say this invoice and save. So as we do this, you will see the folders being created in the AI center. If we go to data sets and okay, so we see the other one. So this has two pages and each page has a different type. So I'm going to say invoice and I'm going to, because there is a purchase order, I'm going to click on this icon over here to split it and say this is a purchase order so that it can do that. So once as we do this, if we go to this thing, you can see, hold on. Where's my browser? Yeah, so now you can see these folders are being created as the workflow runs. And let's finish what we have over here. So this again is the invoice. So the good thing is here my classification is not trained for any kind of document as of now. But if you are already using this module for with intelligent keyword classifier or keyword classifier, you already have the data. So you can, based on the confidence levels, you can specify and do this uh, manual configuration only for the documents that has a lower confidence. So we'll go into some of those detailed things in a later session, but for this one, so I'll specify this as a purchase order. So this is the last one. So let's make it invoice. Right. So the workflow has ended and it's successful. So now what we have to do is in here, if we take a look at these folders, you see a bunch of files for each file that we processed. These are JSON files with all the data it needs to train the model. And similarly for purchase orders, you will see the same set of files. Now, this is our training set. Using this data, we can now train the package that we created using the pipelines. So in a pipeline, you can create a new training run, and now then you have to select the package. So this is the package we created earlier for document classification. Just select the version. So I have already trained it, so I'm going to select this and then choose a data set. Here you are going to say, this is the folder that you created. So inside this, you will see all the other two folders, but you are going to train the model for both. So just select the topmost one and click on create. So this will create a training run for you. So this will actually take quite a while to run. So that's why I have already created that earlier. And once you do that, the next thing is go to ML skills. So before going to ML skills, this thing has to complete successfully. So since I already have one, you need to go to ML skills and click on create new, provide a skill name and choose the package and the version. So for each training version, you will see different versions lined up here. So since I did a training last time, this is the one I have as the latest. So select the latest one and click on create. So this creation will also take a couple of minutes. And it will, at the end, it will show up as available, just like what you see over here. Okay, so once that is available, then you can easily change your workflow right here. Instead of using any other classifiers, you can simply use the machine learning classifier. So this is how to do it. So let's remove this and look for machine learning classifier, this one, and press it over here. Just click on OK on this message and search for the ML skill. So this is my skill. And you need to provide the API key. So this API key that you can find it from your cloud platform. Go to admin, under licenses, go to robot and services. This is where you can find it. So copy that and press it here. And click on get capabilities so that it will give you the things it can do. So you see, here it shows two drop downs because I trained the model for invoices and purchase orders. So all I need to do is I just need to specify like this and click on save, and then it will do the job for me. So now if I run this, it will do the classification for me. Let's see how accurate it is. Yes, so now you can see this thing has picked it as an invoice with 88% confidence, which is correct. And I'll show this for a couple of documents. So to improve the accuracy, you need to train it for more documents. I only trained it for 2 here, and this thing didn't get picked properly. So training it with a larger set will help you to get more accurate data, just like what you see over here. So that's how you can use the machine learning classifier um, to classify your documents. So I can actually give you a real-time example on this based on some recent project that I worked on, document understanding. So in my case, it was not invoices or purchase orders or anything. It was um, I was working with a large set of documents where in each document you see 300 to 400 pages. And I use this classification to categorize this document. So basically the requirement was I had to identify each and every page and categorize it into kind of 40 to 50 different categories. So this classification was very much helpful because these documents were not structured. We see paragraphs of data, sometimes we see tables, sometimes we see images. So it's anything that you can expect to be there in a document, it was there in this. So machine learning classifier in a way help us a lot to do that. So that's how awesome it is. Okay, so we are done with the machine learning classifier, and let's quickly move into the next feature where I'm going to show you a nice new feature. So earlier you saw that um, earlier I actually mentioned that when you're specifying or working with classification, you need to specify separate keywords so that it knows that based on this keyword, what type of document we are looking at. So the simplest classifier that we can use is the keyword-based classifier. Why I say that is because here we can specify the keywords. Yeah. So in this workflow, so this is a different workflow. In this workflow, you see the same kind of activities: load taxonomy for each, digitize, and classify document scope. And I'm here using the keyword-based classifier because it is easy to show this example with this. And I have the present classification station. Along with that, I'm using the train classifier scope, but not for machine learning. I'm using it to train the keyword-based classifier, which is actually a JSON file, which you can find here. So right now, we don't have any data in the JSON file. So let's see how we can use the present classification station to improve the accuracy without doing separate training, just like what we did earlier. So this is the beauty of that. So even a non-technical user can use this method to classify a document if it was picked in a wrong category. So let me run this. So in the latest version, we are seeing a nice new feature in the classification station. See, Now this document is not selected with any type, and this is an invoice. For now, I'm going to say this is a invoice, but I'm not going to specify any keyword. Why? Um, I'll tell you later. So I'll just click on save, and this is again an invoice. Save. And this is a purchase order. I will just say save. But now, if I look at the same JSON file, even though we have the training activity, do not have any data because I didn't specify any keywords to train. So this is how a user can use the new feature to actually train this model without any technical knowledge. Just like before, I'm going to specify that this is an invoice, and along with that, I will also say, let's say I'm going to use this. I know this is not the right word to train, but I'm just giving you an example. I'm selecting this word over here and saying this is the keyword to identify this as a keyword, as an invoice. So clicking on these three dots, I'll be saying add as a reference. Okay, and then I'm going to click save. So now, before getting into this, let me quickly show you the workflow. If I go to keyword-based classifier, you can see the new word I just selected. It automatically got updated using this train classifiers code, saying for invoice, that is the keyword that we need to use. But in this is again an invoice, but that word is not available here. Yeah. And that's why it is not able to identify this as an invoice. So let me quickly do something like this. I will say this is an invoice, but this time I'm going to specify another word. Let's pick the date. And this date is going to tell that this is an invoice. Yeah. So why I pick the date, I will show you in the next document. And now see, in the purchase order, earlier we didn't process any purchase orders, but here this guy was selected as invoice. And if someone wants to know why, you see a small icon here. Click on that and click highlight reference. You see a small line here now. So remember, earlier in the previous document, I specified the date as a keyword. And since date is available in this document, now this guy is saying that, hey, you have this document, this is a invoice. But why I selected date is to actually show you this. Now this date is not referring to the proper type. And this is not an invoice, it's a purchase order. So how a non-technical person can help improve the accuracy is, all he need to do is, so here it is referring to the wrong keyword. All he need to do is select the proper one, click here, change reference. So that now it will look for purchase order when you are working with purchase orders. Okay, and click on save. That's all you need to do. So if we look at managed learning again, say this, the date and this thing is looking for invoices and purchase order is looking for purchase orders. So now if I run the same workflow, see, it is identifying this as an invoice. And if I want to know which keyword, It is this one. So in case I need to update this with the keyword invoice, to make it look better, change reference and save. Yeah. And let's see what happens in the next document. And this is also invoice. And now we see three keywords for invoices in here. Invoice, date, and the same. So if you want to know how this got identified as an invoice, highlight reference and you see the invoice highlighting. So that's how you can use this feature to improve the accuracy, to point to proper keywords and train your model as you use it. So it's simple as that. So any questions after that point? Before I move to the next one.
I don't see any questions in the chat. Anyone has any questions? So these are really good tips, I may say. So that helps you train the classifier not only using machine learning models but also the keyword techniques that Lahiro show. And if you have any potential challenges regarding what he just showed, just feel free to raise your hand or unmute your mic and then ask away your questions.
Yeah. Just to add to that, if someone asks, because we have multiple keyword classifiers here, if this same technique works with other classifiers, yes. So in intelligent keyword classifier, it has its own capability to identify keywords. And sometimes it picks wrong keywords and you need to train it to say that this is not an invoice, this is a purchase order. So still you can use this same feature to help the intelligent keyword classifier point to right keywords, saying this is use this keyword instead and it will help to improve the accuracy. So yeah, so that's how you can apply to other classifiers. Okay, so looks like there are no questions. So I'll move to the next one. And here I'm going to show you how we can use the anchors to extract data from a template. So as we know, we have different template creation techniques in UiPath using form extractor and intelligent form extractor. So the difference between the two is form extractor works with all not handwritten, but all computer generated documents or scanned documents which has printed values. On the other side, if you want to extract handwritten data, you need to use the intelligent form extractor. So that's the difference between the two. But technically, creating the template is exactly the same. So now this is another workflow. Again, it's the same concept. You see the taxonomy, you see the form for each loop, and here I'm using a data extraction scope. In here, I'm just working only with invoices. So that's why I have this here. So in case you want to know how I took this value, the document type ID, it is here in the taxonomy manager. If you go to invoices, this is the ID. Okay, so that's what I have specified here. And in my case, here I have a bunch of documents, which I'm going to show you. It's the same document, but it has a different look. Yeah, so this one, is a very nicely created documents, full digital. Okay, cancel. So, and if we take a look at the second version, it's the same document, but it is a smaller version of that. And third one, you see the document rotated. And the last one, you see this. So this is an image. So why I'm showing you this is, usually when you are working with scanned documents, you see this kind of documents which are not very perfect, just like this one. Sometimes you see smaller documents, sometimes you see uh, say the same document rotated in a different way or a bit tilted like this, because when you're scanning it doesn't always come in the same way. So in the previous version, when you are working with form extractor, the form extractor basically creates a template based on the dimensions of the page and where exactly you need to find this field. So if something goes out of that, it will not be able to identify that value. So that was a limitation we had earlier. But in the new version, we can work with these things, even though its structure is the same, but how it is shown in the document is different. So still, this helps to work with that. So that's where you come across this anchoring concept. So even when you're working with UI automation, this using an anchor helps you to identify specific elements when the selector is not good, right? So it's the same concept. So here we are not going to do any selectors, but here we are using form extractor. So I'll just use the form extractor. And in my case, so this is the endpoint by default. So I'm using enterprise one. Hence, I need to change this URL. Edition equals enterprise. And I need to get the API key, which I have in a variable, in the variables panel. And click on manage templates. So what we are trying to do is I'm going to create a template for these invoices. Let's say template invoice something. And I'm going to select one document of what I showed you. So let me select this part. So out of this, I'll select the first one, the very perfect one. And then I'll click on configure. So this is how you create a template. Just click on OK. So the first thing is, for each page, you need to provide some matching keywords so that it knows that this is the page you are looking at. So I will just provide some keywords here. This is one. So you need to provide at least 5 keywords. Oops. Okay. I'll just highlight. So for now, I'll just highlight this, take the tokens, and put it as the matching info. Okay, so now this is how we are going to use the form extractor to create the template. So the first one I need to extract is the invoice date, which we see over here. So when you are using anchors, we need to go to this selection module and select anchor. So same as UI automation, you need to specify the target and also the anchor. Okay, so similarly, first you need to specify the target. So for this guy over here, the target is the invoice date. So which I'm going to specify like this. So you see it is coming in a blue color with that target thing. And next thing is I need to specify the anchor for this, which I'm going to highlight this date. And you can see it got highlighted in green color with an anchor icon. And then click on this plus to add that to this field. And you can see it has one anchor and it is configured with this. The next one, invoice number. So it's the same concept, target and the invoice number. And click on plus. Do the same thing for due date. So click on due date, the value, due by, and plus. And you can do the same thing to delivery address as well. I will quickly do this configuration. So this is my delivery address. And let's say bill to is my anchor for that. And then one last thing over here is the total, which we see over here. So I'll do this. And in case you need to specify multiple anchors, you can simply highlight multiple anchors like this. Okay, and lastly, the line items for this table. The nice thing is, once you go here and click on extract new table, it will easily identify the columns like this. And all you need to do is just specify to what column it belongs to in your taxonomy. And this is unit price. This one I'm not going to use it, so specify as unused and line total. And so you can see this thing has identified columns and also different rows, but not the column part. So you can highlight or drag. So basically when you move the mouse over here, it will identify this pattern and show the lines according to that. So I will just drag one line here and click on save, extract header and save. And now you see the rows that it was able to identify. Here it identifies the first line. You can see a small red color line appearing. This, the second line, third, and the fourth. So in the first line, it is actually looking at the header. So this is not really a row. So all you can do is click on these three dots and say, mark it as a table header. So now it's pointing to the right. And let's remove the last column, last row here because it's not needed. And click on save. So that's how easy you can create a template based on anchors. And click on save. And that's it. So close it, configure extractors, and extract all the fields from this. Okay. So now let's run it. And down here, I have the present validation station as well. And I'm also extracting the data into a Excel file for each file. So let's see how it works. So remember we created the template for the ideal case, which is the first document here. So you can see it is capable of extracting all the values as we specified. And same with line numbers. This is showing up as red because there's nothing here. Values are correct. And you see a good level of accuracy as well from the confidence. Let's click on save. And let's see what happens in the different versions of the same value. So here we go. And see, we created the template for the document that is spanning across the full page. Now here the same document in a smaller size, and still it has a good level of accuracy in some of the fields. And here, for the invoice number, for some reason it is picking some other value. It says go here, which is this one. But if you see here, this is also a new feature. You see, show suggestions, expand and see. You see a different set of values. And that one of that also includes the actual invoice number, but with a lesser confidence, but still we can pick it. Clicking on replace values, you can easily pick the actual value. And you see the line numbers with 100% confidence. And the same goes for the total here. And the next document is where you see, we saw that rotation. It was rotated to a different layout, but this model is capable of rotating that to the actual or the proper way that we should see it. And that's how you see this here. And it is still capable of extracting the values with some good level of accuracy. So you see the challenges when you come across processing documents having scanned on a different side of the page. You can easily work on those things with these capabilities. And the last one where you had that tilted document, let's see how that goes. And in here, say this, even though it has a different angle, still with the help of anchors, it can easily find what it is looking for and see the accuracy of these values. And it is the more than accuracy, it has the capability to find what it is looking for. That's the most important thing. Okay, so that's how it is. And here with this right range, if we look into the output folder right here, so these files are just created. You can see with my time zone here. And let's have a look at one. So these are the values we extracted. And this is for line items. Oops. Okay, so that brings to the end of my demo on some of these new features. So I'm sure we still have a lot to cover in other new features that we see or we saw in the slide deck. So probably we can have a couple of more sessions to go into these other things as well, which are really, really interesting. So as of today, these are the features that